Bera of California. Congressman, thanks so much for taking the time this morning.
Jim, thanks for having me on.
So you see those numbers there. Public opinion of impeachment and removal has not changed from before and after public hearings. I wonder, do you believe that Democrats failed to make their case to the American people here?
You know, I think the last 2 weeks you saw public testimony and a clear abuse of power, a clear instance where the president withheld funding in order for political gain. I think that charge has been proven. You know, in addition, you've seen repeated obstruction of justice.
For you, you may believe that, but in terms of the number of Americans who buy that argument that it's sufficient to remove him from office, it hasn't budged since the public hearings.
Well, again, I think Adam Schiff, the Intelligence Committee, made the case, and now it'll actually move most likely to formal articles of impeachment, and again, hopefully the public's paying attention here. I also think, you know, I may be in the minority here, but Mick Mulvaney's name repeatedly comes up, John Bolton's name repeatedly comes up, and I'd love to hear those folks testify.
No question, and that's a fair argument. You can argue that the White House has successfully obstructed the investigation by preventing those witnesses. But you and I spoke on the 1st of this month, and at the time you said that when the public hearings happened, that you'd expect the public hearings to shift opinion on this. And if you look at CNN's numbers, support for impeachment and removal among independents, it's even down during that same time period. Does that concern you?
No, you know, we have to do our jobs. We can't let the polls dictate how we approach this. And again, our job is to do oversight as members of Congress, and that is the check and balance that's in our Constitution. So again, we have to present the facts, and hopefully the public will follow those facts and see where they lead. You know, we'll see what those articles of impeachment are. It sounds like the Intelligence Committee is drawing up their report. We'll see what the Judiciary Committee chooses to do. But we have to hold this president accountable.
There is some discussion of including an article of impeachment outside of the Ukraine issue, going back to Robert Mueller, the special counsel's findings on possible or alleged obstruction of justice with regards to the Mueller probe. Do you believe that should be included as a separate article of impeachment, or keep it focused on the Ukraine issue?
You know, I would probably keep it pretty narrowly focused. You know, you had pretty compelling witnesses coming forward. You know, the case was laid out fairly well. You just had the former Republican congressman on there. We have to be a country of rule of laws, and remember, there's going to be a Democratic president coming after this at some point, and what we're doing right now is setting precedents for what our checks and balances are in the Constitution.
As you look forward here, you mentioned witnesses that should have testified in this, whether it be Mick Mulvaney, John Bolton. You had the Don McGahn decision yesterday, of course, from a separate case, but still conceivably relevant to this because it speaks to the White House's argument here, the Trump administration's argument here, that there is absolute immunity. A judge ruled, in effect, in Congress's favor here. Do you believe Democrats should adjust their timeline and wait for this to move through the courts so they could speak to administration officials who were directly involved?
Yeah, certainly, again, my opinion would be that Mick Mulvaney, John Bolton, Mike Pompeo, all the president's men, their names have come up repeatedly. If the president is innocent, let him come forward under oath, let him clear his name. But, you know, it is difficult to get to the truth if you don't have the folks that were in the room making the actual decisions testify. And look, these are not executive privileges, so I don't buy the absolute immunity argument.
Final question before I let you go. You're aware of the case of Eddie Gallagher, of course, the Navy SEALs, many of them based out in California, your state there, and the president's intervention. You now have the Navy secretary saying that the president is undermining military discipline here. As a member of the Foreign Affairs Committee, are you concerned by the president's intervention in this case?
Very much so. I think the president went out of bounds here. You know, you have a chain of command within the military, and you have to have discipline and those processes of military justice. Again, I think the president stepped out of bounds, and you know, I support the Secretary of the Navy. I understand there's a chain of command, but you know, the president, I think, overstepped his authority.
Congressman Bera, we appreciate you joining the program this morning. We wish you and your family the best for Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving, Jim.